All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is my first podcast. Um, I'm just really going to try to be honest with some things here. Um, a lot of people ask me, why would you do this? Just kind of put yourself out there like that. Well, I'm hoping that this helps somebody. Um, I'm hoping that somebody else hears this, can share it with a friend that needs to hear it. I'm hoping it helps a child somewhere because what I'm going to talk about affects a lot of people, and when you're young, you don't catch it. You don't understand what it is. Um, so I'm hoping that this helps somebody somewhere. My name is Chris. I'll be doing these podcasts on a regular basis as I see they're needed. It may be one a week. It might be two a week. I'm gonna shoot for two a week in the beginning. Um, my subject is agoraphobia. Agoraphobia, spelled Agroaphobia. Phobia, of course, is from the English to be afraid of, such as arachnophobia. People are afraid of spiders. There's hydrophobia. People are afraid of water. Agora, from the Greek, means open market or open forum. So agoraphobia means fear of open places or open markets. Now, you ask yourself, how can somebody be afraid of an open space? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Uh, and it's kind of weird because it depends on where you are and what you're doing and what's going on around you as to how things bother you. This just it's an odd condition, and a lot of people don't understand it. And I think that's why I'm doing this, to try to bring awareness as to exactly what it is. First thing, we're not dangerous. I've never known anybody with agoraphobia to hurt anyone for any reason. We pretty much stay secluded to ourselves. Um, my bedroom is pretty much where I live. Uh, my curtains are blacked out. I've got thick blankets on the curtains. Um, I don't like the outside world some days. Some days I do. Some days I can tolerate it. I can walk outside and check my mail, cut the yard, and come back in the house. But later that evening, I'll pay for it. I'll usually have to take my Xanax, uh, which eases the panic attacks. It kind of stops me from having one, and that's the worst thing about the condition is the panic attacks. Um, they come on without warning, and they physically can hurt. So by physically hurting, I mean you have chest pains. Mine, in particular, and everybody's a little different. Mine almost mimics a heart attack. My left arm will go numb, and I'll lose the feeling in my fingers. Uh, I will lose the feeling in my foot, and it depends on how severe a panic attack it is. Uh, will depend on which side of my body's affected. Sometimes it's both arms. I'll just go numb from the shoulders down to my fingers, and it's scary. Uh, you think you're going to die, and that's the whole thing with the panic attack. The panic attacks are horrible. I've caught myself just curled up in the bed and just really don't know what. I think I'm going to die, especially in the beginning. When I was, I think the worst one I had when I was younger would have been a family vacation we took to Florida. Um, the whole family rode down there in the car, and we got to the hotel room, and mom and dad want to go eat. That's the first thing they want to go do is go to a seafood restaurant. Well, I didn't have a problem with going out to eat, but I didn't feel well, and I didn't know why. Um, and I told Mom, I said, I don't feel good. She said, you'll be all right. Let's just go eat, and we'll come home. We'll go to the beach tomorrow. Everything will be fine. Um, I was sitting in the restaurant. We got seated at this big table, and this place was packed. I'm talking spring break, um, and it was just flooded with people. You couldn't move from bumping elbows with people. And we sat at this table, and they came and take our order, and I ordered shrimp because I like shrimp, and we're waiting on the plates to get to the table, and the smells in the restaurant were like, I'm smelling grease, grease, things being fried in grease, and the smell is so strong that it almost makes me nauseous, and I my head gets light, and I'm almost to the point now where I'm getting dizzy. And I just told Mom, I said, I'm going to the car. I said, I can't do this. And she said, you're fine. Just sit down. Don't ruin this vacation for everybody. Well, that puts extra pressure on me because everybody's looking at me now, and that's not what I want to be, as the center of attention at that point. And I tried to sit there another few minutes. I just got up and walked out. I went to the car, opened the back door, laid down in the back seat, and I have no idea what's happening to me. My chest gets tight, my arm starts to hurt. Uh, I'm starting to hurt all over. I just want to go home. I don't want to be there. Um, and this really was the first time where I, I just really didn't know what to do with myself. It's scary when you don't have control over what you're doing. You feel like there's no control at all. All the control's been taken away from you. Uh, you're at the mercy of this panic attack. And they finished dinner. They came out. We went home, back to the motel. Um, I went to sleep. Um, Next morning, I got up and we went down to the beach, and didn't really feel good about that, but I was able to stay. Of course, the rest of the vacation just went off and on for me. I was in the room some, I was outdoors some. I didn't know why I couldn't pull it together. And this is what children go through. We don't understand what's happening to us. Uh, and Mom and Dad didn't know. I was trying to talk to them and explain to them what was happening. They didn't understand. Uh, So this is where I'm going with this podcast. I want people to understand what it is, how it affects us, and then what we can better do about it. Okay, so it was about this time that I start going to see a counselor. Um, After school, a couple of days, every 2 weeks. Um, it helped to talk to somebody. Uh, Still didn't fully understood what the condition was, but I went to a local counseling center, and I had a counselor diagnose me with agoraphobia. He sent me to see a psychiatrist for one visit, and then I went back to him the next week, and he gets the paperwork back, and he says, well, he said, looks like you have agoraphobia. He said, I know you don't know what that is, and I'll try to explain it. And he did. My dad was there. I'm underage, so I'm kind of at the mercy of my father. Uh, and he says he wants to put me on this medication. Well, Dad says, okay, tell me about the medication. And he starts telling us uh, about chemicals in the brain and how they affect things and how they get off, and so things need to be corrected and blah, blah, blah. And so he finally got down to the bottom line, and he said the medicine helps X percent of people who take it, and there's some risk, And of course, Dad says, "What's the risk?" And the man says, "Well, um, it's food-based reactions. Um, he's going to have to change his diet." Um, he said, "It's easier for me to give you a short list of the things he can eat while taking this medicine, opposed to a list of what he can't eat because it's so long." And we looked at the short list of foods, and Dad says, "I don't think this is going to work." He said, "If he eats any of these other foods that are not on this list, what happens?" And the doctor says, "Well, he's got about 10 to 15 minutes to get to a hospital and get some medicine, or he can die." And I looked at Dad, and I'm like, "No, I'm not taking it." And Dad says, "Well," he says no, and I kind of agree with him. He said, "That's a little extreme." He said, "I would kind of like to make sure that he doesn't die in the process of taking medication." So we kind of killed that right there. Um, Medication in this country for psychiatric problems uh, is a huge letdown. Uh, the FDA is supposed to be regulating these labs and watching the foods we eat and the meds we take and so forth and so on, and they're failing because I don't know if it's money involved. I don't know if these congressmen and senators are getting paid off not to stop the production of these drugs, but even you see on TV, all these TV lawyers uh, over all these drugs that have hurt people. Uh, yes, they had known side effects when they took them, but these side effects sometimes are way worse than what they say they are. Um, Psychiatric medicine is no different. Uh, it really makes me mad because I've had several friends, a couple of friends, two I can think of, that died while taking medication that was supposed to help their issues. And it didn't help their issues in the first place, it made them worse. And in one case, it made them suicidal. So, no, we have a long way to go in this country as far as psychiatric medicine goes. Um, we need a big push of people to say, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore. Something's got to change." And they keep forcing these bad drugs on us, and I won't take any of them. They tried me on a couple of antidepressants. Uh, I don't have that much depression, and when I take the antidepressants, it makes me angry. I want to throw stuff and talk mean to people, and that's not who I am. So my wife flushed the last prescription I had, and she said, "Never again." She said, "You don't need them." She said, it makes you somebody completely different." She said, "And you're mean and you're hateful." And I said, "Well, I don't want to take them anymore." I said, "I don't like the way they make me feel anyway." So if you take a drug and if it doesn't make you feel right and it doesn't make you feel like yourself, then the best thing to do is to stop taking that drug. Okay, so we've talked about what the condition is and some of how it affects me. Um, I've told you about the drugs they've tried me on, and some failed to try me on because I wouldn't take them because of side effects. Um, I want to talk about a couple of other little incidents. It's kind of odd because the strangest things bother you in different ways sometimes. Um, my work history through the years suffered. I was a forklift operator. I was a forklift mechanic first. I was an auto mechanic before that. So I understood mechanical workings of different engines and motors and different fuel types and carburetors. And when I started as a forklift mechanic, uh, I kind of liked working with forklifts. So when my job played out as a mechanic, I went to cold storage because cold storage units use a lot of electric forklifts. They're a little easier to work on than the gas ones. So I liked working in cold storage. It was seclusive. I could be in a freezer for 3 hours by myself. I didn't have to be around people. I could. I like the cold environment. I don't like to be hot at all for any reason. I don't like summer. I much prefer fall and winter. Um, it's just the way I'm made. Um, it's if I get hot, it seems like it aggravates uh, my anxiety more. I don't know why I get more anxious during the summer months. Winter months are a lot easier, and that's odd because a lot of times the winter months people seem to have more depression. Uh, Not me. When the sky gets cloudy and overcast and it starts to snow, I'm in heaven. Uh, Emotionally, I feel better. Um, Physically, I feel better. I'm a lot better off in the winter time. Um, but anyway, cold storage helped me keep a job because I have lost countless numbers of jobs because I could not show up on time. Because I would wake up, I would have, they call it depression. I guess that's maybe what it was to a point, but I would be anxious. And it was usually over something I knew I had to do at work that day. And the anxiety would get so bad that I would call in. And there's no telling how many jobs I lost just because I pointed out. I was a good employee. I worked hard when I was there. I would usually learn every job on the line to make myself be an employee that they wanted to keep. I never had supervisors say one bad thing about me. Uh, I worked as a machinist for a while because I went to school for tool and die after high school. That was hard. It was extremely hard. And there was a lot of days I missed school, and that's why I didn't finish and get my certificate because I didn't show up. And this all goes back to this disease, this thing that affects me. Um, it's just so hard to accomplish anything when you can't be present, and that has bothered me my whole life. The fact that I did not finish my education. Uh, I was making $21 an hour at the last machine shop I worked at before I quit working altogether. I just stopped. I couldn't do it. I had a point there where I just kind of crashed. I was never institutionalized. I was never locked up for evaluation. It's not that kind of thing. I've been told by psychiatrists that I am not crazy, which makes you feel better to know that you're not going insane. Um, I can pass any background check you put in front of me. I actually have a handgun. I have a permit to carry it. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe everybody has a God-given right to defend themselves. Uh, but when I go places like Walmart, I make sure that I go in one door. I know exactly where that door is at, and I actually mark a map in my mind as I'm walking, so I know exactly how to get out. I know where all the exits are. And if I get in a room and I don't know exactly how to get out of there, then I'm in trouble. I've had people meet me at the front door of office buildings and walk me back into the office, and I make a mental map of exactly how I came in so I know exactly how to get out. That is a fear, and it's a bad fear, and nobody understands why I have it, and I can't seem to be told why I do the things I do. I just know that if I do them, I feel better. So this is my first podcast. This is the subject. I will be, hopefully, I would like to have uh, some guests on this show that have this condition that can kind of relate their stories, and hopes that it will help somebody else to hear it. I think we don't talk about things like this enough, and I've kind of stuck my neck out and said, "Hey, world, this is me. I'm an open book. Let's read what Chris's chapter is today, and hopefully this helps somebody to hear it. And maybe it gives them some kind of encouragement that they're not the only one. And if you're a teenager and you're having issues, please, by all means, go to mom and dad and say, hey, look, I need to talk to you. I'm having these issues, and I don't know what to do about this. I would like to talk to somebody. Get a counselor. Get a counselor. There's nothing wrong with having somebody who's not a part of the family, just somebody who's independent and outside the wall, and talk to them. Tell them what the issues are. Let them help you. I would be wary of any medicines until I knew exactly what the side effects were and had talked about it with my family. Um, but hopefully this helps somebody and reaches someone and gives them some encouragement. That's what I think life should be all about. We should try to encourage people, not tear them down because they're different. Um, so, with that being said, I'm going to cut this a little short. Podcast will usually be around 20 to 22 minutes. I'm a little short, but that's what I have for the first show. And hopefully somebody's got something out of it somehow. So everybody have the best possible day they can, and I will see you later. Have a great day.